I'd like to welcome everybody to another edition of Mayor's Hotline. I'm your host, Don Walmsley, and with us again is our esteemed mayor, Mr. Adrian DeGrood. Welcome to the program.
Afternoon, Don.
Oh, it is afternoon.
It
well
is.
done.
It
Oh,
is.
you're sharp
Oh,
today. Oh, okay.
Right on it, right on it.
As usual, we're going to talk about issues. I sent out a request last time to see if anybody had anything they wanted us to ask the mayor. Well, we had the opportunity. Nothing's come forth, but the invitation's still there. If you do have an item or curiosity about how the town operates or future of the town, please just drop off the question at the front desk here at NACTV, and I'll incorporate it into our interview. So let's start off with finding out do you have anything in particular you want to say right now?
No, not really in particular. There's a number of initiatives that we're working on right now, not the least of which is the 2017 budget. We've started that pre-budget process. We've taken a lot of input and feedback from the public. We've set some tentative dates for some meetings, internal meetings. We want to take a look at our capital, which is one of the biggest spends. We've got a lot of things that we want to take a look at. As well, we were able to secure a decision regarding our water and sewer rates. So that doesn't kick in until July the 1st. That's what it is.
So talk
July
a bit
1st.
about those rates. Obviously, that's an increase, correct?
Oh, it's going to be an increase. It's going to be a substantial increase, as we reported when we made the application last year, because of the delays that had happened, and nobody is really at fault. There's a number of things that happened. So what we were going on an application that was filed with the Public Utilities Board back in 2008. So 9, 10, and 11 rate increases were as per that application. So that application is that old. So consequently, year 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, and now 17 have been without any increase because we're working off of that previous application. So what we're going to do, and it's it's been some time since we reviewed that and made that information public. So hopefully, with maybe by the next Mayor's Hotline. What I had asked administration to do is to put together an overview as to what that impact will be.
So you're saying what an average household might be expecting
exactly.
to see the increase for
Yeah,
a year.
so we want to do several scenarios because there's a number of people, smaller households that basically don't have a consumption charge. They just have the basic charge.
Yeah.
Others, so we want to try to get household averages, and then demonstrate on what that bill will look like based on their current average consumption, so that people are on budgets. A lot of people are on budgets. A lot of people want to plan. So the actual physical increase will not be seen until the September billing. So that quarterly billing. So it kind of kicks in halfway during the year. So we're okay for the first 3 months, second 3 months, but then the third quarter, that bill will go out end of August, 1st of September. That's when the rate increase will be seen by the public.
Okay, 2 questions. You say a substantial increase. Now, have you typically asked for a percentage increase? Is that what it is?
So and also what has happened in the meantime is that the rules have changed as far as the application is concerned. So back in, this goes back quite a few years already, there's a thing called the Public Sector Accounting Board. And what happened with municipalities, and not only in Manitoba, but throughout Canada, there was a ruling that was adopted by the Public Sector Accounting Board, and they called it, I think it's 3150 is the number, and it changed the rules on how you costed your infrastructure. And so what happened is simply is that we, much like business where you depreciate or amortize your equipment over a period of time, that also had an impact because that happened in 2009, which was prior to the 2008 application. So there's a compounding effect because now we have to amortize our assets as well as look at potential projects. Well, one of the main ones that we have on the table right now is our lagoon. So we have to be able to capitalize as well as depreciate our assets within our rate structure.
So what you're saying is there's been a change in how you have to view increase, how you have to work out what that increase looks like because the rules have changed.
Yes. So the intent, and it's a good intent, but we're caught in that transition. The intent is that you're basically like a user fee. So your water and sewer is based on, the formulas are based on that it should be a self-sustaining user pay concept, rather than say using property taxes to pay for your water and sewer infrastructure and your operating cost. Your rate structure should align with that costing. So the theory is good. It's just that we're just caught in that
So
spot.
what you're saying is ultimately we're not going to be looking at paying sewer and water infrastructure through other means. We're going to do it based on income generated from the rates.
Yeah, you might still have local improvements, or which we have right now, which is an added cost. It's not part of your tax system. When you take a look at your real property tax bill, you'll see a line on there called water and sewer and things like that. So those were done back in 2009, I think it was, as a local improvement. So you might have local improvement costs, but they're separate, and they go through the rigor of public meetings and things like that. Okay? So it's certainly something that it won't necessarily be absolutely zero, but there could be other costs. But the day-to-day operation, future capital projects should be through the rate structure.
So getting back, you said there was a gap in time from the time you did an application to our most recent application. Ideally, how frequently should a town like ours be going and looking at rate application? Yearly?
No, what it is a 3-year term.
Oh, so okay.
So it's a 3-year term. So ideally what you would do is a year before or 8 months before your expiry of the current application, you should resubmit for that next 3-year term. So because there is a delay, and this is what we were confronted with, and it was a bit of frustration, I know expressed by me, expressed by our administration, as well as council, that the application or the approval process was taking way too long. And as a consequence, we not only lost the ability to generate the revenue last year, which is 2016, but most of 2017 as well. So we budgeted for, like the application goes back into 2015 actually, where we budgeted the increase, but it didn't happen. So basically we didn't run a deficit because we're not allowed to run one, but it certainly did not. It wasn't very good. So this time we had to make it political, unfortunately. Whether that worked, but soon, 2 weeks after, 3 weeks after we made it, we escalated it to the ministerial level. 3 weeks later, we got the approval. So, which was good because we said we needed to have the application approved before we set the 2017 budget, so we know what our revenues are.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as I said, I'm asking our administration to put together some slides, and we'll be able to show them on TV, and we'll be able to talk through what that is. I know we did it once before when the application went in, but we'll do it again to let people know what that increase is going to look like on their typical water bill.
Okay, well,
we'll do that.
That's good to know. What else? We've got sort of off on a little bit of a tangent when we talked about the rates, but What else is a hot topic?
A hot topic right now is certainly, as many people understand, we've talked about it a number of times, is getting our plan of subdivision approved for the former CN property. We're getting very close to getting that done. We made an application for subdivision some time ago now, and have been a little bit frustrated working with planning to make sure that everything is right according to the regulations and things like that. So hopefully by the end of this month, and if not sooner, we'll be able to resolve that problem. Then we can start to look at marketing and looking at getting actual development starting on that property. There has been expressed interest in it and in bits and pieces of it. So we want to make sure that, but we can't do anything until we have that registered plan of approval. So those things are happening, and hopefully by the end of this month we'll have a clearer picture as to where we are going with some land availability for development, whether it's housing, whether it's commercial, whether it's multifamily, and things like that. So again, having gone through this kind of a lengthy process, and the province touts that they've streamlined the process, but it doesn't seem to be that streamlined. But so it's a continuation. So now once we get that, we won't stop. We want to start looking at, because I'm a firm believer, and I've said this right from the beginning of this particular term, I want us to be proactive, not only proactive as your mayor, but as a council and as an administration. We need to be proactive, see what's happening, look. I know we're not crystal ball gazers, but and we knew that the increase was coming. The census validated that, but we knew that, so we have to say, okay, with those growth numbers, what do we do in order to ensure that we can continue to grow our community, and growing it in physically as well as in other ways as well.
I want to put you on the hot seat a bit about process. Twice now with different issues, you've talked about the delay in process, and I'm understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's once your proposal has left here and gone into the system that there seems to be real delays associated with that system, whether it be rates, whether it be approval for your planning. What, in your estimation, causes that holdup?
Well, one of the things that is happening right now is we're actually addressing, through AMM, the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, we lobby to make changes, to make things more streamlined, to make it easier. See, because the municipality is a creation or a creature of the provincial government, the regulations, I mean, there's several layers of regulations and things like that. So once we say, okay, as a municipality, these are what our requirements are, then it goes to that next level, sometimes even federally, depending on the legislation, like environmental legislation and things like that. So that's where it starts to get a little bit cumbersome, because especially like with plans of subdivision, there's 17 different departments, 17 different agencies that have to review that application.
Is that necessary?
Well, you would think that they should be able to streamline some of that stuff, but what happens is, and I've gone through this for too many times in too many years, but it always strikes me as being odd, because sometimes there's agencies that have absolutely no impact or relevance on the application, but yet it gets this circulation. And then there's certain regulations that we're not aware of. They're just doing their job. I mean, so they see things from a different perspective. So that's what causes those frustrations. That's what causes those delays. Right now, we're going through an exercise with the association. Basically, it's called a red tape. So what they've asked is they've surveyed municipalities and said, give us your top 3 or 4 areas that you feel that the red tape, the delay is too excessive, and what are some of the solutions that you can apply? Okay. So a number of years ago, they gave subdivision approval to the municipalities. Well, thank you very much. We've been at this thing for over a year and a half now, and so if we have the subdivision approval, why isn't it approved?
Well, and that's a good question.
Why isn't there nails going into boards over there? But yeah. So there's regulations, and like as and I can see it, the need, for it. But I think as an organized territory like a municipality should be able to somewhat help determine their own destiny in a sense. And
one would think so. One would think so.
And I'm a firm believer in preparation. I'm a firm believer in having things, to be able to take advantage of opportunities when they come, or even sometimes even create opportunities. But it becomes very difficult if you don't have all of the things in right order.
Anything else on your hotline agenda? Because I've got a couple of other questions. Do you want me to jump into those?
No, we can jump into those, and if something comes up,
okay.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to talk about, great news about the fire hall. Mm-hmm. Seeing a prospective plan, and so why don't you sort of recap that? We now are in a go-ahead phase. Have we got the formal design? Have we agreed upon that now?
We've agreed upon the formal design, so we know exactly what the footprint is, and I think it's around 7,700 square feet. Okay. Like somebody was talking about 10,000. We started at about that number, but the final design is around 7,700 square feet. So we know what the footprint is, and we know the basic structure on the inside, like some of the mechanical, where the washrooms are, where the bays, how the bays work, the orientation, the lighting, and access and egress, and things like that. So that is finalized. As late as last Thursday, just the other day, the drilling was done on the site and the location where the sign is.
Okay, so just for people who
okay, so it's Mill Street. So if you take Mill Street, and then you have Freezer Co., or if you come up Fifth Avenue, you have the curling rink, and then you get to the stoplight or the stop sign at Mill. You take a right there, and just on the other side into the open field, and there's a sign there that says future home of Neepawa Fire Department. So directly in behind that is where they did the drilling, and that's exactly where it's going to go. So the doors, when the people see it, and it was in the paper as well. So the doors, the orientation of the doors is west, eh? Okay. And it's not a drive-through system. It's back. You back the vehicles in, and you go out going west. So all of that detail is done. Now that the drilling is done, once the soil testing has been completed, they'll be able to design the foundations. And so one of the things that we've talked about as council and as administration is that we want to get it from where we are right now to tender documents. That means all of the specifications have been cleared. All of the design is already done, but all of the the nuts and bolts and things like that on the interior, we want to have that as soon as possible, so that we are prepared to go to tender very early in the spring. As soon as possible. So therefore, trying to turn it around so that we can have the shovel in the ground, although we had a kind of a preliminary ceremony before, but we want to have that ceremony with a shovel in the ground, and so we can see that physical evidence that we want to do. So it took a long time, and certainly longer than I had anticipated in getting it to this point, but things.
So from shovel in the ground to the time that they're rolling their machines out of there, what's the estimated timeline?
I would, and this just a guess. Yeah. I would say mid-year 2018. Okay. and depends a lot on the winter, the contractors, availability of materials. There's a number of things, but it's a pretty fundamental design. It's not glorious in a sense where the architecture is nice. It's very contemporary. However, also the ease of construction should be fairly straightforward, so there's a lot all open space. Things fall into place.
In the meantime, they've got a new fire truck to play with.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they've got a new fire truck.
Yeah.
That's for sure, and it'll be nice in the new facility.
Sure, looked nice.
Yeah.
The pictures in the paper.
Yeah.
A couple of back to what we talked about last week briefly. The roads have been horrible in town in terms of ruts and that kind of thing. I see they're out cleaning now. And we talked briefly about that whole cleaning after the last big storm. How do you feel that's coming along now?
Well, I think as far there's certain expectations that we have according to our policy. We're within that policy. The execution of it could be a little bit better. Certainly trying to have that timeliness. Our equipment is scraping. We have a loader. What we're also looking at is do we need different type of equipment, and in order to respond quicker, more effectively, more efficiently, and we are looking at that as well. In fact, last week we were looking at obtaining a large blower, which basically blows the snow once it's fallen right into the truck and hauled out. So we are looking at different kinds of equipment in order to increase the efficiency. So it's rough. It's winter. What we've been seeing, and not so much this last week or so, was a kind of a continuous snowfall, a little bit.
Yes.
So that accumulation, and so we ended up with lumps, and because we don't have a grader, the loader can only do so much especially when it gets really hard. People need to drive according to the conditions, and we live in Canada, and when we have these kind of snowfalls like we're having this year, it's very difficult. So we need to be patient. I know it takes me 3 or 4 hours to do my driveway, and but it's part of that reality, and so I'm not saying to people lower your expectations. Yeah, it's good to have them. We did have some, and we acknowledge that we did have some contractual, with the contractor before, and so if we want to be proactive again, is we require that accountability in order to do the job the way we have defined it. So we're kind of behind the gun right from when we had that big snow dump at the beginning of January, and as a consequence, we've had some rough conditions. The forecast for the next week or so is a little bit milder, so hopefully that some of that stuff will soften up, and we'll be able to get the loaders and clean that up.
Yeah.
As far as the potholes are potholes, we're also looking at an extensive asset management program, which again takes a look at our current infrastructure, and then a more of a scientific approach to formalizing priorities. And so we're actively looking at that part as well. So we're still putting it in the plans. I know it's tough, but we just need to be cautious when we're driving, and being careful.
Okay. I've had a couple of questions come actually from community members, so I'm going to throw those in now. About garbage, we're now into maybe our 6th week with our new contract, and there had been some garbage accumulation in certain places.
Right.
And how do you feel we're doing at that point now?
Well, I think we're it's slowly now the bins are in. There's some issue with the bins being too high. I know I was going to talk to our administration today because we use bins in our area because there's several that we don't have at the door pickup in our area. But again, it's one of those things that you when you transition. Now people are getting used to the schedule.
Yes.
And putting it out properly. There was some issues, with that accumulation. But you get that in that transition until people recognize and understand what's going on. And one of the things that we're actively pursuing, and this is one of the reasons, and I'll mention it again, is we're very seriously about looking at going to carts instead of bags. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons that we went out to tender to take a look at that option, and so we're looking at carts, and we've asked other communities who have been utilizing them for a number of years as to the type of carts that they're using, the failure rates, and things like that. So again, that transition, I think, driving around, I see areas, recycling. The bins are empty. We're getting a really excellent response from Evergreen, where we take our solid waste. That the recycling is cleaner now.
Good.
That is less work for them.
Because I've often heard that concern about what's the point of throwing recycling into a dirty container when it's contaminated and can't be used. It sort of defeats the purpose. Exactly,
and I personally have had that same issue when we moved here. A lot of cardboard, a lot of paper. Put it in the bin. It rains on it. It soaks it. It's junk. So why did I straighten it? Why did I? I understand. Some of those issues. But what we're getting from Evergreen now, and we got an email just 2 weeks ago. I got a copy of an email, congratulating us. They wanted to bring it to our attention that the recycle is a lot cleaner, and they appreciated that. And certainly, it's a lot easier for them, when they don't have to sort through it as much.
So just to clarify, Evergreen, what used to be called sort of garbage dump or garbage facility collector, and the actual people who collect our garbage, those are two separate entities.
Oh yes, yeah. So Evergreen Technologies is a corporation that was set up with several municipalities, and then when they when we decommission our own Minto, Odana, and Minnedosa, ourselves, North Cypress or at least Langford, are all kind of they have it's like a partnership. And they developed that, and they're run by a board, an independent board, that and then we pay the tipping fee.
Now, somebody noticed that there was, actually they referred to either something on Facebook or with regards to safety around Lake Irwin and people around the edge, and the question came up. There is some concern around that, and people who may not be familiar with winter and that kind of thing. Is there any intent to perhaps post signage at Lake Irwin warning people?
I'm not sure who does the testing there. Like open water is open water, obviously, and with the aeration system that they have at Lake Irwin, it is open water. So it's a good point. Somebody must drill, whether it's conservation or maybe it's even the residents in the area that drill to make sure. I would say for anybody who is going out there to either do ice fishing or some recreational strolling around, stay where the shacks are. Making sure that you stay where there's already been traffic. That's going to be safe. I was just out there a couple of weeks ago with a friend of mine, asked me to do some ice fishing, and there's 18, 24 inches of ice, but that's at the east, on the east side.
And that's why I'm wondering if perhaps, especially for people who aren't either familiar with ice fishing or that kind of thing, some kind of signage saying, this is a safe zone, this isn't, or be cautious of, or if you notice, because while you may put it on the website, not everybody looks at the website.
Yeah, that's for sure. And if you're not sure, don't go there. I know when like me and vehicles on ice, it's just not
Yeah.
Even though I know there's maybe 2 feet of ice underneath me, I still feel uncomfortable. I know I've driven over ice bridges and things like that to get into some remote communities, and I always take my seatbelt off and have my window open and
Ready?
and ready to jump if I have to. But like, it's all seriousness. If you're not sure, don't venture out. Make sure that you go with someone who understands that. And as I said, stay on the beaten path. I mean, those paths are where vehicles have gone. So, and if you don't need to take a vehicle out there, park it and walk.
Whose responsibility would that be then? Would it be the town?
No, it's not the town.
So whose responsibility is it? The
I think
municipality?
it's the person. A lot of times it's not a road; it's a recreational use.
Yes.
And people who want to go out on the ice understand, and there's charts that says what it will support. So when you do the initial testing, so what I understand is that, for gross vehicle weight, they have charts that tell that, but there's no ice authority on any of the lake unless you have a road that is a winter road, or a road across the lake that is done. But I know in recreational lakes in the north where there's remote cabins, the responsibility lies with the cabin owners and people who venture across the lake.
So in the case of Lake Irwin, then, who would be the responsible group that, say in the summertime, algae alert or those kinds of things, who would sign that? Is it the landowners in front of the lake? Like, who does the lake belong to?
The lake belongs to North Cyprus Langford.
Okay.
The lake doesn't belong. The lake belongs to the province of Manitoba, but it's in North Cyprus Langford.
So it's not in Neepawa boundary?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, well, then maybe that helps answer some of that question. I'm going to go back to a topic.
No different than Park Lake. We don't test it, but we don't have a lot of traffic on there. Even the snowmobiles very seldom they'll go across there. People use it recreationally as far as cross-country skiing. I see people out there quite often, but there's nobody that we don't regulate it. It's the user that has to be precautious.
Well, I remember when we had jam-pail curling down there too.
Yeah, but if you do stuff like that quite often, people will do some.
Yes,
the organization that is sponsoring it will do some test drilling, and if there's areas that they feel is not safe, quite often they'll mark it with little markers and things like that. But on a continuous basis, it's the user that really needs to take that caution. You're walking on ice.
I'm going to throw us back to 2 weeks ago. Sort of brought it up. Just want an update to see if anything's changed. Canada 150. Anything new coming as a result lately with regards to that? Any exciting new ventures or any more thoughts, or is it still sort of in the same?
It's kind of in the same. We've had our second meeting of the year just a week or so ago. Again, a lot of it is starting to take traction on doing it. They've asked me to bring a resolution forward for council to consider the Heritage Week that we talked about from July the 14th to the 23rd, as well as things are coming out from the federal government or from FCM and the federal government. And so I'm going to be sending that out into our community. Okay. So there's areas where there's websites that you can put your event on. Say you're planning a certain events. Like Arch Forward has a number of events that are going on. The car club, archery, whoever are able to post that onto a national website so that people are traveling and things like that. So that just came. I just got the email just the other day. I think today's Tuesday. Yeah, well, yesterday. Yesterday I got the email from the federal government that has a number of resource tools that people can have and organizations can have access to. So we're going to roll that out, as well as the committee is still getting interest and starting to organize different things. I understand that there are some people actively pursuing a soapbox derby.
Yes, you mentioned that last time.
That would be great. Yeah,
I haven't seen one of those in a long time.
No, I might have to go online and get a design and put an
entry in.
Yeah, put Mayor's Hot Box, or something. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but might be something. Put out a challenge, right?
Well, the Mayor's Hot Box Challenge. That'll be very interesting to see. I'm sure, and certainly we might even film that event. So that's those kinds of things I think are really good. They're very community building. I'm going to take us to probably one of the most interesting things to come up. We've been waiting for this. The first drop of data come back from the census. Yeah. So talk to us a bit about that, and not only what it was, what its implications are in terms of what's happened over time and for the future.
Well, I think first I'd like to give credit to the people that were engaged in taking the census. Yeah. We had excellent people. Iris did a fantastic job of mobilizing, of securing people who had a good understanding of our community and willing to and understanding the importance of the census. So we had a number of workshops, we had a number of meetings in order to try to engage people, and you were part of that.
Yeah, well, yes, no, I
through your
agree
role.
Totally.
And the other thing that really helped was the Manitoba Bureau of Statistics stepped up big time this year, not only for Neepawa, but also for the province, recognizing that in the past sometimes opportunities were missed in order to make sure that we were completely engaged in getting our census. So when I say Manitoba Bureau of Statistics, is that we contacted them and they helped us with posters. They helped us with translations of different paraphernalia and different pamphlets and things like that. So that was really great. So that leading into the census, because I'd seen this before where there was opportunities lost, and I thought, you know what, we have to mobilize and we have to get prepared for this, because it's just not going to happen by itself. So that I thank those people for stepping up and doing that. And the reports came out fairly quickly after that there was a sense that they got 98% of the population counted. Which is significant, and it not only happened here. I heard that in other areas as well. So it was not only us that did that. So what does that mean? So it validates the numbers. It validates what we've already been experiencing for the last bunch of years. And this, so every 5 years is the official census. I've proposed a resolution to the AMM that allows municipalities to take periodic census as well, so that we don't have to wait for 5 years. That's another issue. So what this does is it validates, and so much rolls out of that census. So there's not only the raw data of population, which we're seeing now, but there's a lot of other information that will be rolled out periodically. I think until the fall is when the full set of reports and full set of data, that information that was gathered through the census. It allows us to plan for the future. It allows us to take a look at exactly where we are. The other thing that it impacts, a lot of grants to municipalities are what you call a per capita grant. Yes. So it's and that works both ways. Sometimes your costs are based on a per capita as well. It's not the RCMP. RCMP is a percentage. However, the threshold on a population that determines the percentage. But so when you're doing, like say I think the federal government, one of the biggies is the gas tax. So that's on a per capita basis. Right now, it's worth $195,000. Based on a previous census. So that has a significant impact on revenue generation, as well as some of the cost factors. So that's why those numbers are really are really important.
Well, and just in general speaking, if you have an increase in number, you have an increase in tax base anyway.
Exactly. So yeah, for sure. I mean, those things flow out of that. So you know, whenever you're doing your calculations or you're doing some of your research, now you have that valid number that says, this is what it is. Now, and then you look at trends, and trends are over a longer period of time. But certainly having this number, we when we were pushed to determine a number, quite often it was around the 4,000, 4,500 number. So now with this 4609, I think it is, it, as I say, validates that.
So what percentage increase is that?
27%.
27% in the past 5 years?
27% from
2011.
2011. So what I also understand from the preliminary review, that we're the third largest growth community in Manitoba. So well above,
significant.
Yeah, well above the provincial average. So it helps to in a number of different ways. So when we take a look at business opportunities, maybe development opportunities or retail sales, you got those numbers. It's certainly
well, it implies that there's been clearly with that kind of increase over 5 years, there's been impact in terms of services within the community, whether that be grocery stores, restaurants, other kinds of businesses, as well as the housing market.
Yep.
Car insurance. When you start looking at the rollout, the impact in the healthcare system, a whole variety of things.
Yeah, it's a ripple effect. That you you take a look. So some of the decisions, like in the clinic community, or in the doctors have recognized that there's growth within our community because of the people that are requesting medical services and things like that. Even the RHA looks at a doctor patient ratio. Before on the 2011 census numbers, we were at a good number. One of the fortunate small communities in rural Manitoba that are blessed with the amount of doctors that we have access to. But that ratio was okay based on the 2011. So now that ratio changes. So that valid again supports the argument for a growth in health services in our region, because we have some marginal growth in the surrounding communities as well. Not so much further afield, but those directly surrounding Neepawa have seen some growth as well. Not big numbers, but have shown growth.
Well, yes, certainly. This is a topic of discussion for another day. For example, would that have any kind of impact when we come to take a look at the reality of needs to upgrade our hospital?
Well, certainly, because the argument that was made, and maybe we can have another conversation. I'll have some information. But one of the arguments that were made a number of years ago, when this was a very hot topic, was population, the service area, and also looking at the service area as far as the sub-region is concerned. So you take a look at that, and then so if the argument was made for and against or supporting that process, do we need to review and revisit that process?
Okay. Any other thoughts around the census?
No, not really.
When's our next rollout of information?
I think it's March. Like they've got a. If you go to if you're really curious, on the Census Canada website, they've got a schedule of data releases, and it identifies what is in that package of data. So there's a number. I think there's about at least 4 or 5 dates that different information will roll out as it's being analyzed, as it's being put together, and so I think the final is in the fall that they have that.
Well, we're sort of coming closer to the end, and I'm just wondering, is there anything else you would like to sort of bring up and talk about on your hotline?
Well, one of the things, is some of the issues around our deer population in Neepawa right now, or Neepawa and the area. And I don't have to look very far for the damage that they can do. I just have to look outside my window. And Don, I have to say, I just about cry. I just about cry as to the destruction. I love animals. I love deers. They're beautiful. I've seen fawns born on my property, but I see destruction of my mature evergreens, my cedars, my drooping pines. It's terrible. And other people are experiencing this as well. Very mature trees. I thought Knox Presbyterian Church has some beautiful cedars there. I thought they were going to be saved, but I see that they're fair game to the deer as well. We've talked to Sustainable Development. We're going to set up a meeting, maybe even with resources, wildlife, and say, okay, you know what, because one of the fears is that not only the destruction that we're having in the wintertime, but these are creatures of habit as well.
Yes.
So as soon as they find a food source, as soon as they find an area that they feel is safe, that they're comfortable in, and that it's habitable by them, they'll come back. So the problem might also, and I know it'll extend into the spring and into the summer. So gardens, flower beds. I know there's certain flowers that they on my yard, they just keep them clean. It just stalks. Basically, as soon as there's a leaf, it's gone.
Well, you see, and this is. I mean, I think it comes in waves, because
Yeah.
this is a fairly increased recent phenomena. There were years where we didn't see them at all.
Well, and to be fair, they were monitored, and they took the doe season out, hunting season, so that the population would increase. Well, the population has increased, and with the type of winter that we've had, early snowfall, lots of snow cover, they're I can see it. They're desperate. They're eating pine needles. They're eating things that are not natural food to deer. One of the other things, and I want to get this out as well, is please do not feed deer. There are people who think it's awful cute, and it is cute, but don't take food, don't take or buy, like you can buy cracked corn, or people are trying to sell sunflower seeds. Don't feed the deer, because they get accustomed to that, and they come to it, they feel safe, and I've had up to, this is reported, I have 15, 20 deer. I mean, my yard is tracks.
So is ours. We have regular, and the dog goes nuts, and we put our bird feeders up high enough that they can't reach for that very reason. But has there been any thought given to establishing maybe a couple of sites closer to Park Lake or wherever, where if people wanted to, could, whatever, so that there's a more fixed and safe and controllable place that the deer can go feed?
I think one of the things is, rather than people feeding them, if they want to see them, one of the things that some of the farmers have done, and I think resources have done as well, is drop bales of hay. So if we take a look at that, this is why we want to meet with with some of the regulatory people and say, like, what can we do? Perhaps that's a good idea. Maybe we create a fund that we buy some extra bales of hay, put them strategically away from the population, because I understand that there is one that is quite regularly visited by a number of deer, which is at the bird sanctuary.
Well, that would be an ideal place.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's an area. People can have access to it, and they do. And so maybe there's other strategic locations that we can encourage that or support that, so that it keeps that deer population out of town. I know there's the other side of it, that that what's wrong with that. Well, I don't think they've got $2,000 or $3,000 trees that are being eaten up.
Yeah. Anything else?
That's it. That's on
it. Once again, thank you very much. I'd like to again open the invitation to individuals who might be interested in feeding us some questions so we can really put the mayor in the hotline in the hot seat. I'd also like to extend a happy Valentine's Day to you.
Yeah,
You know,
that's right.
Hope you treat your wife well.
Always.
Yes?
Always.
Yeah, it's public, you better say that. Otherwise, I think that's it, and please tune in again for the next Mayor's Hotline. We try and do it a week following the council session so that there's some nice juicy tidbits to chew on. But as I said, if you have anything you'd like us to tackle, please just drop it off the question in an envelope at the front desk of NACTV, and I will incorporate it into our interview questions. But other than that, I'd like to thank our switcher, Chris, behind there today, filling in for Nikki. She's doing a wonderful job. And thank you all for joining us. Bye now.